Hello, 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 hello. You probably want to know how to uh, make a database, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to take you through the tutorial. I'm going to do everything you would need to do in the tutorial. Now, it's be pretty quick because I know you don't have much time, and also I'm pretty good at this thing. But uh, don't get don't get worried because you can always put me on slow speed, and that will you can follow along that way. So what do we need to do? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need the database, and we have to wait for the Dropbox, the OwnCloud, OneDrive to synchronize. There, we've got OneDrive. Pretty soon, that's going to say OneDrive, La Trobe University, and then we'll be on the money, ready to go. In the meantime, let's just have a look at the actual assignment. The assignment looks like the tutorial looks like this. It's a big document. Database package number 2. We've done package number 1. You've looked at the data. We want you to identify the data. So this is the workbook exercise. We've got to find inguinal hernia patients. We need to find with or without complications. When they do have complications, we want the ratio of complications to procedures. So we need to create a new query. We have 4 steps. Well, first we're going to find the file, which we've done that already. We need to reduce the file to cases that have inguinal hernias. Then we're going to put a query on top of that and find inguinal hernia cases that have procedures. So a query, a table, and then a query, and then a query. And first thing we need to do is we need to create a query, and we should be ready to do that right away because we have OneDrive. OneDrive, we're going to do it in the hundreds of different times I've done tutorial 1. We'll see if we can do it there. As I mentioned before, the first thing you do is you copy your database, and so that you have one for the day that you're working. Today happens to be, what is the date today? Oh, I can't see the date. Let me look. The date is the 23rd. 23rd of July to 23rd of July. 23 July. So now I've got a copy of my database. Space is cheap. Let's go into that database. What does that database look like? It has 4 tables. Remember, it's got the DS1, the DS6. We're going to enable content as we always do. We've got diagnoses and procedures. So we know that the DS6 table is not the right one. So we're going to ignore that. We're never going to do anything with the DS1 6 table. But darn, launch from browser. Don't press Control W. That's a habit from previous. Fortunately, if you get back in quick enough, it takes you back to the same spot you were before. Oh, stop my heart from beating so fast. Great. We're just pause again. There we are, right back to where we started. If you press Control W, you're good. So we're not there. We're going to open up the DS1 table. We're going to get the data out of the DS1 table. So we have to create a query. So create a query. We're going to use the query to suck data out of the database. Cancel that. I don't know why it does that. Yeah, it asks you what tables you want. You can actually select tables from here. I actually just like to select my tables from here because I can drag and drop them. So I'm going to want the DS1 table. I want, if you just say, I want to run that, if I just try to run that query right now, it says query must have at least one destination field. You can't do a query on nothing. So we have to have some fields. So what fields do we want? There's 3 ways you can get fields into here. You can drag them, you can double click on them, or you can choose them from down below here. And which columns do we want? We want the TDiag1 column because that's got the principal diagnosis, so that's important. We want the length of stay column because that is one of the things that we need to use to report. We want gender, we want sex, so because we want to report on that, and we also want the TDiag the TOPR1, because that tells us whether or not we've got a procedure. So you can double click on that. So that gives us those 4 fields. And then finally, we want to know if there's any complications. So the complications are in TDIAG 2 all the way down to TDIAG 25. So you can shift click on that. So you click on the first one and you click shift click, and then you can drag the whole lot of them down to the thing. And so now we've got our query that's got all our fields in it. It's good to always test your query to see whether it works. So we run it and we see that we've got, again, 29,000 records. It's pretty similar to the actual database itself, but we're going to add something in a bit and make that pretty. So the next thing we need to do, once we've got our fields, we've selected out the columns we want. Now we have to select out the rows. Which of those 29,000 do we want? We want the inguinal hernia. Does anyone remember what the inguinal hernia code was? I bet you don't, but you will, because soon you'll be coders. But the inguinal hernias are K40 codes. They start with K40. Now, fortunately, Access has got a shortcut for K40. You say K40 star. And then it fills that in for you. It actually adds in a bunch of stuff. It says like quote K40 star quote. It's nice. You don't have to type K40 star, and it knows that you want to do like. If I just typed in K40, it would just look for K40, and when I run that query, I'd get nothing, bubkas. But if I type in K40 star, and I run that query, then I get my 1923 records. You can tell. Yeah, so that's good. We've got all the K40 codes. If you're happy with that, save the query design. So now we want to save it. File save as. Save as. Oh, actually no. Let's just go back to the. I think the best way to save it is that way, because it just saves the actual query. Otherwise, you're saving the entire database. We're going to call that. What are we going to call that? We'll call that inguinal hernia. After all these years, I can certainly spin. Now in our queries, we've got an inguinal hernia query. Before we just had a query there. There's many different ways to specify things, like K40 star. We could say, we could also say this. Let's move it bigger. Greater than or equal to K4000, greater than or equal to K4000, and less than or equal to K4999. Now, why do we say K499? Because you don't quite know where it's going to end. You might be K485. So K499 says, give me everything up to K5000. We don't want K5000 in itself. And so now if you run that, we also get 9. Oh, really? Oh, I see. That's that because that's because of K449. I should have done K4099. 4099. And that also gives us 1923 records, which is exactly the same. It's the same query. It's just another way to specify that K40 star. But K40 star is much more concise, and concise is always good. So now that we've got the K40 stars, we want people that have had a procedure. We don't want just any old one. We want the ones that had a procedure. So when I run this query and I go, I don't want this one. I don't want this one that doesn't have a procedure. I want to exclude that one. How do we do that? Well, we say we say TOPR1 is not null, and that is the retrieves all the records where TOPR1 is not blank. Run that, and now I've got 1832. We've got rid of 89 records or something like that that were blank. I could say is null to show you the ones that didn't have a procedure, the people that got away scot-free. Now you see that TOPR1's always blank, and there's the 91 records. But no, we don't want that. We want to say is not null. Oops, what did I do? Cancel, go back there. Great, I'm going to save the query again. Cool. Now you should end up with 1832 records at that point. Um, Sorting is useful. Sometimes you need to sort. We don't. I could show you the sort. We could sort it on length of stay, for example. Ascending. Just as an aside, it's not necessary for this one. So there, the ones are at the bottom, and the long length of stays are at the top. Completely not useful for this job, and generally you don't sort in a query, but sometimes just for the heck of it you would. So now I'm going to show you how to build a query on top of a query. So a query can be based on a table. Here we've done our query on a table, the DS1 table. And we could add more functionality in here, but sometimes it's just simpler to check it, to say, that's a wrap. Inguinal hernia with complication. Actually, I should close that and call that inguinal hernia with complication. Rename. Because it's the complicated hernias. That's the not just the it's the inguinal hernia with operations. Rename with operations is what that one is. Oh, actually, in my documentation, I just called it inguinal hernia. So it is the inguinal hernia with operations. Enough of that. Yeah. So, but we're gonna, now that we've got that, we're gonna do some more query on it. We're gonna do queries on top of it. So we create a new query. Create new query. We could select the queries from here, from the queries thing, but again, I like to just drag it in. It's a little more straightforward, and it's going to be based on the inguinal hernia query. So we could, yeah. So let's have a look at all those fields. We want all those fields in the query. TDIAG1, length of stay, sex, TOPR1. But now we want the ones that had complications. So which ones had complications? The complications are ones that start with a T code. And they have to be in not TDIAG1, because we know that TDIAG1s in this case are all K codes. But we want ones where there's T diag 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4 are start with a T code. So let's say, does that start with a T code? And we run that. And sure enough, that pulls out 36 records. So of those 1,832 records, 32 have got a T code in the first code. But there'll be some that have got a T code in TDIAG3 or TDIAG4. We want any one of those. We want this one or this one or this one or this one to be a T code. And we want all of those. So how do we do that? Well, we take that like T star. T star. Nope, that didn't work very well. Deep sigh. T star. You could really, I cannot press Control C. That is a sad thing. T star. Okay, yeah. So we want T star to be in that one, and that gives us 32. Or we maybe want T star here. So what happened if we put T star here? That means that we would have to have, when they're in the same line, the criteria is and. So it says we want a TDIAG to be T star here and a TDIAG to be T star there. So it has to have a T star in both of those. So we run that. There's only one that has got a complication in TDIAG2 and TDIAG3. So it's quite rare. But we want less, we want more. We want ones that have a T star there or there. So we put it down below. That's just the or criteria. So this criteria or this criteria. We run that. And so now we've got 50. We've got ones that have complication in TDIAG1 or TDIAG2, TDIAG1 or TDIAG2, TDIAG1 or TDIAG2. Well, let's continue on. TDIAG4, 5, 6, 7. So easy enough. T star. T star, tab and down, T star, T star, T star, T star. I'm not sure what the cap. I don't think caps matters, but yeah. So tab and down, T star, T star. Now I happen to know that this database doesn't have any T stars after TDIAC6, so I'm going to just stop there. But if you were going to be complete, you'd have to go all the way down to 25. And that's another thing that's wrong with this database. You have to do that because it's a wide database. It has the data wide. It would be much better if the data was in a long format. And we'll show you that next semester, later in the semester. Great. So now we end up with 60 records that have both that have three things. They have TDIAG1 as K40 star. They have an operation, and they have some kind of complication. And we're going to save that. We're going to save that as inguinal hernia with complications. That's a wrap. That's the end of the tutorial. I wonder how long that took me. Kind of curious. 16 minutes. Well, you have 2 hours to do it. I think you can do that. And then now you want to go to your assignment and do the same thing for your assignment. What data do you need from your assignment? How can you use these queries that you've learned here to get the data from your assignment? And good luck with that.